Before we begin, thank you very much to Dark Twilight 20 for coming back to the Patreon campaign. Always good to see the names returning. Thank you very much for the contribution. That donation does mean I owe you a video. If I don't have one outstanding from you yet, please feel free to message me over on Patreon. Leave me a request. You shall have it. I do need to get to those requests. Thank you for everyone's patience as I try. I've got so many things on the burner right now. But I do appreciate all the support and the contributions. We are at a level on Patreon I never expected. But that said, if we get a little bit further, I'm going to be doing a few different things for you guys as a thank you. So hopefully we make it to that point. But if not, we are doing really, really well. Thank you, everyone. So we have a weird little topic today. We actually get to talk about reissues, but not reissues from G1, Beast Wars, etc. No, far, far closer to the modern day. So Mark Marr over on Instagram, actually asked a question. If you could have any toy reissued as far back as War 4, Cybertron Siege, or even Titan Wars, whom would it be? This is an interesting question, not only because, it's very strange that someone from the Transformer design team is suddenly asking about modern reissues, but also it's interesting in the timing of it, with us about to enter the third stage of a trilogy, where because we're coming up to a point where things usually refresh, styles change, etc. once we hit a new trilogy. So we're I'm kind of wondering why now? Why are we getting this? So if they are actually thinking of reissuing toys from that era, there's two reasons why they would do it. Number one, the molds may not be financially viable until, any longer than this. We do know production cost goes up, material cost goes up. Everything that goes into making a Transformer does get more expensive over time. There's no helping that. That's just how capitalism works, unfortunately. But it does mean that we might be facing the end of when those molds are still viable, that they can release at their original price point again. Anything older, which also might indicate that we're heading into an era of, we might be looking at some more simplification on the Transformers. We might be looking at a downsize or a price increase for the next trilogy. We have no indication of this outside of, this is me speculating, based on conjecture here. So don't take that too much to heart. Just, I'm trying to figure out why now we're asking about these reissues. Another reason is because that a lot of times when molds start falling out of rotation and aren't used as much, they enter deep storage, which means they are categorized, they're filed away in warehouses. The molds themselves are filed away in warehouses behind and even underneath other molds that just haven't been used in a long time and don't intend to be used for a long time. They're not going to destroy them, because at any point they could need to reissue those toys again, or they come up with some exclusive or something that a retailer wants to go, okay, we actually have a perfect mold for that. We just need to dig it out of mothballs. But once it goes into deep storage, getting it out is costly and time consuming, because now you're literally dealing with hundreds of tons of steel that have to be moved in order to get to the back of the shelf where that old Titan's Return mold is. So it is problematic. So it could also be a situation like that where, if we go any older on these, the molds are just not going to be readily available anymore. That's another concern. So there's reasoning for why they would do it. As for which ones, well, that is going to depend based on everyone's personal tastes, as well as what Hasbro themselves thinks would actually do well if they did it again. Now, if we're going on personal taste, one that will not be done, but it's the oldest one I can think of that I actually want a reissue of, and that would be the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. So this is coming from a person who has had Siege Magnus, Kingdom Magnus, and currently has Studio Series Magnus. And I will tell you, out of all of the Magni, I still really like the Combiner War one best. It's not overcomplicated. It doesn't rely on a ton of panels to get its job done. I know some think the plastic is a little bit flimsy and shoddy, but honestly, I don't really find that. I feel like it's fine. The transformation is efficient. I love this. Like, I love the IDW style from Magnus. I like the modernization of it. And yeah, the minimum ambush gimmick worked in is fun too. And I like that they even figured out how to include the hammer as well. All around, I think it is just a really fun and nicely done Ultra Magnus toy. You know, the modern ones all provide something different, either show accuracy or toy play style, but for me, like, this is still my go-to Magnus when I just want to goof with an Ultra Magnus toy. And I know it's not a relevant figure anymore with IDW gone, at least for Transformers, but you know what? It's a good toy is a good toy, okay? If we're looking at something a little bit more widespread appeal, I think Sixshot would be a great one to go to. I pick Sixshot because it's one of those where the toy itself, like Sixshot is already a really cool character, and the toy is really cool. It's cool enough that they really didn't have to redesign Sixshot at all. The Titans Return figure is about the most literal example we have of just take the old toy and add joints to it and just release it that way. It's the most literal example until this brand new Optimus Prime in Japan comes out, right? The G1 with articulation. But what we have here is just a really solid figure. And the big thing to me is, like, you couldn't really do a new Sixshot without heavily stylizing it, and there really isn't. There's no evergreen Sixshot. There's no modern cartoon using Sixshot, because I think they just don't want to put out a figure they have to figure out the 6 different forms for and still work it into the budget. So this one is another one that I think, yeah, it's a really, really good one. And I don't think you gain anything by just doing a new one, because this one still seems to hit all the correct notes. If we're sticking to Titans Return leader class figures, then let's go into Overlord. I love this toy. I already really love the design and overall play pattern of G1 Overlord. This one is just a really nice condensed version of it. Yeah, the entire play pattern is from the G1 version is not there, but it's enough to make me happy, and it's enough to feel like the character was done well. And right now, like, we've got Deathsaurus on the way, so like this wouldn't be a bad time to kind of like dig back into some Japanese G1 Decepticon leaders and, you know, let's put a little bit more out there. Just saying. But no, I really, really like this toy. Ideally, we get a brand new one that's Commander class, but I'm not entirely sure that's necessary outside of, it'd be nice to have the Godmaster gimmick. So it's what it is, but as it stands, I do think it's a really, really good toy that more people should get a chance to actually experience. If we are talking about reissues from Titans Return, however, I think some of the most obvious ones are the ones that everyone had a hard time getting a hold of, like Misfire here. For whatever reason, just like some of those later run figures just had really, really bad distribution and were very hard to find. Misfire here's aftermarket cost is ridiculous. This thing, sealed in package, is way more expensive than you would expect. I did a whole video on like how much Titans Return toys of all things have jumped in recent years, considering as a series it's really not that old. But the characters were, ones that they hadn't done before, hadn't done since G1, haven't done since, and the play pattern on it's just really, really good too. So all around, just really, really nice run of toys. So no surprise that some of them did gain a lot of value. More so when you couldn't find them in stores. So yeah, I think some of those need a rerun. If only to kind of like take the collector's market down a notch. Get things calmed down and under control again. If we move into Power the Primes, we kind of hit the same problem that I had with Combiner Wars. It's that nobody really wants those Combiner Wars style combiners anymore now that we have things like Legacy Motormaster. Everyone, like now the new thing is like just modernize the combiners the same way. And I am kind of in that boat as well. I will acknowledge it's going to be far harder on any of the others than it was on the Stunticons, but it's doable on a few. So that does mean that I'm limited in my choices, but I wouldn't mind seeing the Optimus Prime again. This is a really fun Optimus Prime that does a lot of things. You know, has the trailer, combines with the trailer, has an Orion Pax mode, has the Matrix inside him. Really nice figure overall. And it's a fun toy. It's just a lot of, it's an Optimus Prime that just does a whole bunch, and it's really fun to mess with. So, definitely one that I wouldn't mind seeing again. But I would also extend this to the Rodimus Prime. I thought the Rodimus Prime, like, it's the only Hot Rod Rodimus Prime attempt that actually works at making him, like, grow up and, like, go from Hot Rod to Rodimus Prime. The Masterpiece tried it, and I really don't think that came out very well. But this is not a bad take. Oh, and guess what? The Hot Rod component in this is a really, really good Hot Rod toy. Really good Hot Rod toy. The other thing about this is that if we do get a reissue of these, it's highly likely they would not use the foil stickers that everyone hated. And that's another huge thing for me. I might go in on this toy again if I found out that it didn't have those cheap, terrible stickers on it. Same goes for the Prime as well. I have the evil versions of both just so I can have the molds to play with. But I wouldn't mind having the Rodimus back if they gave it that little bit of an upgrade. Here's another one that I think people deserve to have a second chance on, and that is the Predaking. That one I know has issues. Some people don't like some of the things it does. I think it works really well. Yes, you have a bunch of kibble on Headstrong and Tantrum, but the overall product, I think, works out really, really well. I think it's a really clever job of distributing the bulk of Predaking himself in order to make sure all 5 components are the same size like they're supposed to be. Yeah, you do have a couple units sacrificing. They have these giant black backpacks in robot mode, but it really doesn't deter them that much. And when it allows everything else to work so well, I think it's actually a really smart way of fixing the big problem that comes with Predaking, keeping everyone in proportion. The scrawny waist, I think, is the only, like, really valid complaint here. I don't even mind the size of the wings. I think this thing looks fantastic, and it's another one of those where if they did it again, yeah, there could be improvements, but are they really enough to warrant a completely new figure? I'm not necessarily sure that that is true. But no, it's a nice set. It's a fun set. And I would not mind seeing that one again. There is one sector of Power of the Primes I think we could revisit and actually reissue, but only in gift set form. I would only want to see this as a gift set, and that is the female combiners, because the after cost on some of these, like Greenlight and Lancer, are stupid. Considering everyone slept on this combiner group before, and once those last 2 figures came out and people realized, oh yeah, now we can actually make the all-female combiner, then everyone just, like, ate these toys up left and right, and now they are obscenely expensive to get. I would love to see this one reissued just so we could take the value down. Just so we could calm the market down. But again, like I said, I think it only works in gift set form. I think if you just put out Greenlight and Lancer again, yeah, there'd definitely be some demand. But I don't think they would do well overall. I think you'd have to put out a gift set form, give people a chance to get the whole team without paying an exorbitant amount. But no, as much as I dislike that combiner group, because it boiled down to every female, deluxe transformer into the same mold, which is really unfair. I mean, that aside, I just hate when things like this overinflate on the aftermarket, and I would love to just take it down a peg. I would love for that to happen. If we're going into, like, proper, like, Siege and all that, then I would basically say any Siege mold without the battle damage paint would be nice for me. I'd put Astro Train pretty high on that list. I'd love to get this toy without, all the burn marks on it, because it's what they did with Siege battle damage. It doesn't even look like burn marks. It just looks like the toy's dirty. It just looks like his legs got dirty. That's it. It's not great battle damage or wear and tear. I've ranted about it enough on this channel, but it's still true. I hate how it looks. There is another one from this era that does warrant a reissue, in my opinion. If we go into Earthrise, That is the Quintesson. This thing was impossible to find. Like, even in pre-orders on Amazon and Big Bad and Entertainment Earth, where you can get, 10% off in-stock orders with code TJOmega, or just by using the link in the description below. Yeah, like, the Quintesson was annoying to get. And, like, this is largely because this is a toy that you would buy in, like, 3 or 4. Like, my original plan before I realized, wow, I don't have the shelf space for that, was to get 3 or 4 of these. And I figured it doesn't transform and, it's not going to look cool for kids. So obviously this one's going to linger in shelves and be on discount at some point, right? I didn't even see it on digital shelves. I didn't see an Amazon listing for this outside of third-party sellers that wanted $70 for it. Yeah, I want this again. I absolutely want this mold again. And we're still getting things like, there's a Quintesson character in the Troop Builder. The Troop Builder pack that just came out. So, like, now I need Quintessons to go with all of them. If I go to Kingdom, Kingdom is about as new as I think we can get here. And there's only one thing from Kingdom that I would really like to see again, but again, I wouldn't want a straight reissue, I'd want it repainted, and that is the Fossilizers. Because it always bugs me that all of these like modular Transformer characters that they've come up with, they never come out in uniform color schemes. They're always different, Every one of the Fossilizers is their own different shade of bone, And I would love for one set to just come out that was just all the same, so I could piece together the dinosaur I actually wanted, I want that. Like, I want to be able to make dinosaur monstrosities that look like they go together. I don't want to have, bone, like this like dull brown kind of tan colored bone structure with brown details to go in the bright white bones on wing thing. It doesn't work. It doesn't look good. So that's my big thing. It's like, I would love to have Fossilizers. I'd put this out to like weaponizers. They kind of did it with modulators because they did one Amazon pack. That should be reissued too, because that one was stupid hard to get. And I'd like to see it on the modern ones too, like the Junkions with the upcoming armorizers. Like, I think that'd be a lot of fun if they could actually, match and look good when you start mashing them together. There's one last one on this list, but I think it's about the most obvious one that anyone could say, and that is the Soundwave from Netflix. We know it is out of its exclusive contract because we've gotten the Shattered Glass version of it, and we are getting a brand new release of it as part of the next scene multi-pack from Takara, which is probably going to be the last hurrah for that Megatron and that Shockwave mold. And they're putting out the best iterations of both. We're finally getting a clean version of that Megatron. But this Soundwave, oh yeah, especially you would think we got the Core Class 86 Rumble and Frenzy out. You would think that would mean that a Soundwave to go with them is on the horizon, correct? And it's Soundwave. Of course, Hasbro's going to be really eager to release another one, especially given how popular this one is on the aftermarket, especially if you can keep it from yellowing. Absolutely needs another go around. I think that's the most obvious answer, and that's about the most obvious place to leave off this video. So of course, to play along at home, all you have to do in the comment section is tell me what figure from the last 5 or 6 years do you actually want to see a reissue of? Which ones were hard to get? Which ones were so good they deserve another go around? Have fun with it, because obviously everyone's going to have a different answer for this. I'm kind of curious what they're going to be. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. You guys are keeping me alive, a little bit more literally than I expected. But yes, you are doing amazing things to help me, and I will keep doing as much as I can for you in return. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
We parlay with the captain.
You think a werecroc is going to listen to elvish rules of piracy?
Of course it would be the freaking elves that invented parlay.
I had to think of a quick replacement for the French.